It's official. Ohio State is hiring Matt Patricia as its next defensive coordinator.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to this bonus episode of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And during this Buckeye Blitz, we'll discuss the promotions that Tim Walton and Matt Guerrieri received. But first, it's official. Ohio State is hiring Matt Patricia as its next defensive coordinator. And on the surface, the first time I heard this, I started to scratch my head. I started to wonder why Ryan Day would go this route when there is someone currently on staff that could fill that role. And then I thought about Matt Patricia in the NFL, what he did while he was leading the defense for the New England Patriots, his 8 years of calling plays for a defense, which is huge when you're thinking about bringing somebody in to lead the Buckeyes defense when Ohio State's trying to run it back in 2025. And I also think that year Matt Patricia took off was valuable for him as a coach. Yeah, he was with the Eagles for a little bit, but outside of that, in 2024, he wasn't coaching. He wasn't an analyst. He wasn't anything. He was just focusing on himself. And I read that he spent some time with Bill Belichick preparing and trying to dive into the college game. I didn't know that Matt Patricia was thinking about coming to college football, but it makes sense. You take a year off, you focus on yourself, you learn something new, and maybe you have to go down to a level you haven't been at since 2003 to get back to a level you want to be at. And I get why Ryan Day is going this route. A guy in Matt Patricia, when Ryan Day was in the NFL with the 49ers and with the Eagles, Matt Patricia's defenses messed up any plan that the quarterbacks had that Ryan Day was trying to lead. In 2015, Matt Patricia's defense for the Patriots held Sam Bradford to 120 passing yards and only 2 touchdowns, 58% completion percentage. In 2016, Ryan Day also went up against the New England Patriots, which were led by Matt Patricia leading the defense. Colin Kaepernick was the quarterback for the 49ers that day. He only had a little over 200 passing yards, 16 to 30 passing, 2 touchdowns, and that was all he had. And I thought about that and went into it a little bit more and thinking Ryan Day's track record of being a offensive guru, with that thought about Ryan Day being something I'm thinking about here, I went back to Ryan Day's time in the NFL and began to think about a guy or a coach that maybe Ryan Day struggled with. Matt Patricia's that guy. Ryan Day went from one coach to the other and couldn't figure it out. Now, you can look at the quarterbacks and say, well, those are the quarterbacks. They weren't that good. You can also realize there was a guy on the other side of the field that was orchestrating the defense that Ryan Day was trying to go up against. And that defense, which was led by Matt Patricia, didn't allow Ryan Day's guy that he coached do anything successful. Had a couple touchdowns here, but we even saw Patrick Mahomes in mop-up duty in the game scoring, a few touchdowns. But at the end of the day, everybody realizes that wasn't good enough, and you got destroyed. You got demolished. And that's kind of the same thing that happened back then. And I think for Ryan Day moving forward, we can all trust him. What's one thing I've been preaching about ever since Jim Knowles left was that when it comes to Ryan Day making hires, Ryan Day has knocked so many hires out that even if you don't think Matt Patricia is someone you can fully get into right now, you could fully get into Ryan Day and what Ryan Day is doing. Ryan Day really hasn't messed up hires offensively at the coordinator position, offensively or defensively. There's only been one bad hire on the defensive side of the ball as far as a coordinator, and that was Kerry Coombs in 2020 and 2021. Quickly moving to Matt Barnes after game 2 in 2021, who was the D coordinator, we believe, but didn't have the official tag, but he did turn that thing into getting a D coordinator job at Memphis at the end of the 2021 season. Outside of that, Greg Madison, Jeff Hafley in 2019, got it done. Jim Knowles, 2022 to 2024, he also got it done. So my gut is Ryan Day right now learned from his mistake early on, and he's going to knock this hire out too. Also, on the offensive side of the ball, I don't see a bad offensive hire when it comes to the coordinators. Kevin Wilson was the OC that was retained by Ryan Day when Ryan Day got promoted to head coach from 2019 to 2022. Brian Hartline in 2023 didn't call plays. Ryan Day was still hands-on with the offense, so maybe it was a co-OC thing for Brian Hartline, but I don't think he was a problem. I don't think he drastically hurt the offense. 2024, Chip Kelly and Brian Hartline with the co-OC tag. Great. Right now, it's going to be Brian Hartline and Keaton Bailey. And everything I believe and think about 2025 is that those two guys will be great for Ohio State's offense. Ryan Day messed up one hire early in his coaching career, but since then, he hasn't messed up any. And that's the only one that he's messed up when it comes to the coordinators that Ryan Day has hired at Ohio State. You can trust Ryan Day. I can trust Ryan Day. Regardless of what you think about Matt Patricia, the recruiting piece, he has guys at every position that can recruit at a high level that will help him figure out recruiting at Ohio State. Does he need to be doing the dirty work? Well, you got James Laurinaitis and Larry Johnson and Matt Guerrieri and Tim Walton. If they're going to do a lot of that dirty work that maybe he doesn't have to. Also, when it comes to the culture fit and maybe some former players not getting along with him, I don't think Ryan Day would make this hire if he thought there would be a culture problem or a personality problem with bringing Matt Patricia in Day we trust. That's all I'm going to say. But also, I got more to say about some promotions Ryan Day handed out to Tim Walton and Matt Guerrieri, and we'll dive into those next. This bonus episode is brought to you by Wayfair. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I always find that decluttering and refreshing my space helps me get back into a routine, whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or just want to give your space a new look to start the year. Wayfair has everything you need, all within your budget. I'm currently looking for furniture, and their huge selection makes it easy to find pieces that fit my style and budget. My favorite part, the free and hassle-free delivery, even for the larger items. Wayfair's site was so easy to navigate, and I found everything I needed in no time. Give your home the refresh it needs with Wayfair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. Thank you all for tapping into this bonus episode of Locked On Buckeyes and making this a part of your day. And Ryan Day has handed out a lot of promotions this offseason. One to Brian Hartline and one to Keaton Bailey and one to Billy Fessler. But that's not it. Ryan Day handed out a couple promotions on the same day that he hired Matt Patricia to be the defensive coordinator at Ohio State. One of those promotions was to secondary coach Tim Walton, who is now the co-defensive coordinator at Ohio State. And they'll also be promoting safeties coach Matt Guerrieri to passing game coordinator. Normally, that's a title that I normally hear about on the offensive side of the ball, but even with Matt Guerrieri's experience leading defenses and the way that he has made Ohio State safeties, help develop them into being some of the best in the country, that makes a whole lot of sense to having a guy at the secondary on defense that's going to be leading the passing game for Ohio State's defense of 2025. I like it. I have no problem with it. Normally, as many people, there's one thing I don't like, but I'll get there in a second. As far as Matt Guerrieri goes, I think his promotion is well-deserved. It's earned. It's another way to allow him to make a little bit more money. And I think Matt Guerrieri has earned it. He's earned every penny, not just from where he was before this first time at Ohio State, but where he is currently and how we all know that he understands the system Ryan Day wants. And as Ryan Day called him, he is a rising star in the sport. So he checks a lot of boxes. He is a guy that I think moving forward is going to be someone that Ryan Day is going to treat like a Keaton Bailey or a Brian Hartline. He's going to try and do everything he can to keep him there in Columbus, Ohio, because that's great. The Tim Walton piece is interesting because Tim Walton has been a defensive coordinator before, at three times throughout his career. One in 2007, one in 2008, and the other was in 2013. I'm going to pull this up quickly to let you know the teams he was coordinating on the defensive side of the ball throughout his career. 2007, he was the D coordinator of the Miami Hurricanes. In 2008, he was the D coordinator for the Memphis Tigers, excuse me. And then 2013, he was the D coordinator for the St. Louis Rams. There's another reason why I think this might work. And normally I'm a person that is not a fan of co-coordinators. In 2019 for the Buckeyes defense, it worked. Outside of that, we don't see co-coordinators at all. Well, 2021 maybe, but that was such a weird year. You couldn't roll with Kerry Coombs anymore. You kind of had to promote somebody because if you did roll with Kerry Coombs, there could have been more losses on Ohio State's schedule than they may have had more losses than they ended up with at the end of the day. On offense, Last year with Chip Kelly and Brian Hartline, we know that Hartline had the co-OC tag, but Chip Kelly ran the show. And so it can work. I think it might work here because most of Tim Walton's coaching career, at least the last little bit of it, was in the National Football League. From 2009 until 2021, Tim Walton was in the National Football League. He was with the Lions, the Rams, the Giants, and the Jaguars. And yes, he was on the Jaguars when Urban Meyer was the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, which could be why Ryan Day said, hey, Tim Walton, come on to Ohio State. I didn't even put two and two together when Tim Walton was hired by Ryan Day to come and coach the Ohio State's corners, but that could have been a big reason why he came in. We know Tyler Bowen was on that Jaguars coaching staff when Urban Meyer was down there in Florida. So that could be why. That's another connection that a couple years ago I didn't really put together. Tim Walton's experience in the National Football League is going to help Matt Patricia transition to being the D coordinator at Ohio State. And so when you put those two things together, two guys that have spent a lot of time in the National Football League on the defensive side of the ball, Ryan Day understands the desire of Matt Patricia to work with someone to help him make this transition as smooth as it can be. Yeah, there may be some hiccups. There may be some slumps. Can't have a week one. There's no way you can have that week one. You don't want to start the season off with a loss. Not at all. So what can you do to help Matt Patricia prepare for his first game as defensive coordinator at Ohio State, while also helping someone that's been a big piece of the Buckeyes defense since he's been there, promote Tim Walton to co-DC? Move forward with that. Allow that to work. You already know you have the buy-in of the players with Tim Walton. You already know you got the buy-in of the players when you have Matt Guerrieri. So the players are bought in. The players believe in them. The players are not going to go against Tim Walton and Matt Guerrieri. And they might look at Matt Patricia and say, man, I heard about you in 2015 or 2018. I heard what the people were saying. I heard about X, Y, and Z, and you realize OG Walton going to let that fly right now. You can't allow that bad behavior, that bad culture to create a bad culture at Ohio State. So I get the Tim Walton thing and promoting him to co-DC because I think pairing him with Matt Patricia, two guys that have been in the NFL for a very long time, I think that can help things work. That'd be the only reason I think a co-coordinator situation would work. Even in 2024, Chip Kelly was the OC. I know there was a co-OC tag for Brian Hartline. That was all of Chip Kelly's operation. That's all I got to say about it. What are your thoughts, though, about Matt Patricia coming in? Are you for it? Are you against it? What do you think? Dive into the comment section, leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify, and leave your thoughts and comments about Matt Patricia being the new defensive coordinator of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Thank y'all for tapping into this bonus episode of Locked on Buckeyes. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. This does not replace our normal Thursday pod. Actually getting ready to record that, and that'll hit your feed tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Eastern. Go Bucks.